So unfortunately, it came at a price. I'm a global runner and I'm trying to get under 2:30 in the marathon, aged 50, with a first step being an attempt to go under 72 minutes in the half marathon this year. The first attempt was at Houston, where I was super fit, but unfortunately got sick and had to pull out at mile 2. The next attempt was 20 days later at MESA, where I was still carrying a bit of a lung infection, but I pushed through and I finished in 73 minutes and 37 seconds. Now, that constitutes a failure, that is not sub 72, but I am taking the positives out of that. And I have to say that having come up to that race with 3 weeks where I didn't do any real running, I did a lot of pool running, but I didn't do any real running, and still carrying a lung infection, I was very happy with that time. So, fast forward. After the race, everything felt great, I was happy, I was a little bit sore, but everything was good. Until about 12 hours later, and then the cough started coming back. And then that night I just felt terrible, and I woke up the next day and I had aches and pains and chills, and I had the full-on flu. Went back to Calgary and spent 3 days in bed, like I just couldn't get out of bed, which was a bit disappointing. But obviously I wasn't fully recovered on the race day of the MESA half marathon, and pushing myself to the limits there obviously just pushed me right back to square one. And so I had a pretty torrid time this last week. I had a friend ask me if it was worth it. It definitely was worth it. I'd done all that training. I had to go out there and try the 73. I thought I was much further over the sickness than it turns out I was, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I went out. I'm glad I ran as hard as I could. And I'm glad I got a good time, and I don't regret pushing it, even though it made me sick again. I did want to quickly address this issue of pool running, because I left it out there as sort of an unknown. I do think the pool running massively helped me in MESA. I think it really gave me stronger legs, and without the pool running, I don't think I'd have run close to what I did end up running. I do think I needed to do it for a bit longer and insist on it a bit more, but I'm convinced that pool running is an absolutely invaluable tool if you can stand the boredom of it and you use it properly. So I think I'm going to be incorporating more pool running into my routine going forward. The other thing that I'm absolutely convinced I need more of is more races. Those 2 races in a short period of time are something that I haven't done for quite some time, and they are invaluable. Like, you push yourself to the right level. Like, racing is not about going as hard as you can for as long as you can. Racing is about running as fast as you can without overdoing it, and you only get good at that by practice. And the more you practice that, the better you become. And it's not just the practice of the race itself, it's the practice of the race preparation, it's the practice of the strides on the morning, when do you have your breakfast, what sort of taper sessions are best for you, those sorts of things. All of these things come into play when you race, especially if you race a lot. So my plan is to do a lot more racing now that the weather is going to start improving in Calgary, do as many races as I possibly can. So a number of people have asked me what's next, and that is a great question. I think it depends, really, what's next. I think I have 3 options. So before we get there, let's just do a quick recap of where we are and how far we've come. And it wouldn't be a recap without a bit of paper and a big fat pencil. So this is me last year. That's where I turned 50 years old. And I spent about a year trying to go under 2:30 in the marathon, and we did a first attempt where we were trying to get under 2:40, which was here, and that was in the MESA marathon last year, and that was a failure. I did 2:48. So then I tried again in the Carmel marathon very shortly afterwards, and we had a success. We did 2:38. So that was great. I was trying to get under 2:40 is the first step, and I did it. The next step was trying to get closer to 2:30, which I tried in Montreal, which was here, and I failed. I did a 2:39. So that was the story of last year. So this year, from sort of December onwards, I decided that I wanted to see if I could get under 72 in the half marathon. So from this period, December, to, let's call that today. So from December all the way up until Houston, I had a training block there, which was amazing. And it was a really effective and good training block. So I was really happy with how that went. And I went to Houston thinking that I was really going to blow the doors off it. Unfortunately, Houston was a DNF. I pulled out mile 2 because of sickness. So then I spent 2 weeks, these 2 or 3 weeks here, just recovering, pool running and trying to get a bit better, which led to me running a 73-minute half in MESA. Okay, so the plan had always been to take, hopefully, to get under 72 minutes and then go and run the Barcelona Marathon. So that is still an option. Go and run the Barcelona Marathon in March. The second option is to go and do another half. See if I can use this fitness I've got to try and actually do a proper half. And then the third option is to back right off and start prepping now for a spring marathon. And all of these are viable options. I think ultimately that I'm going to go with this bottom option. I'm going to start prepping now for my next marathon. And the reason is, although I am definitely fit from this period to this period, I've had 3 weeks off up to MESA where I didn't do really any running other than pool running. And I had a period of another week just gone where I haven't done any running either. So that's 4 weeks with limited running. So the idea of doing a marathon on almost no training over the last 4 weeks, that's not going to happen. I did think about doing another half marathon, but I feel like I'm just sort of patching myself up at the minute, particularly having had 4 weeks off, and I want to properly get over this. I don't want to set myself back again. So the idea of another half, while extremely appealing, I don't think is the right option. And so the next thing that I should be doing is going for a spring marathon. So the question is, which marathon? Well, those who've been following along will know the troubles I've had with this particular issue. Every marathon I wanted to do was sold out. It looks like you have to be applying for marathons about 12 months in advance if you want to get in. And I didn't do that because I thought I was going to be doing the London Marathon, but then it turns out I had missed qualifying by 18 seconds. So I was left scrambling for a marathon, and I really wanted to do Copenhagen. That was sold out. I really wanted to do Edinburgh. That was sold out. Manchester was sold out. They were all sold out. Paris was sold out. Everything. So the current one that I'm thinking of is the, wait for it, Fargo Marathon. Now I know that sounds crazy. Why go and do a marathon in Fargo?
Oh geez. Fargo.
End of story.
A number of reasons. It's a super flat course, I understand. There are people who are around the 2:30 mark. So while I'm not going to have big crowds to run with, and I'd love a big crowd to run with, it seems that that's not going to be possible. But there might be a lead group that I could stay with. Or alternatively, if there's no one there, then maybe that might be a marathon that I could look for the win in. And if there's anything more motivating than running in a group, then it's running for the win. And so the hope is that if I am out there running for the win, that might motivate me to try and break 2:30. So the current thinking is the Fargo Marathon at the end of May. So there we have it. Marathon training starts now. We're gonna recover from this, make sure that I'm not sick. We're going to start hitting some bigger mileage. I've really not had the best start to the year in terms of mileage because of this sickness, and then really start going with some strength and some quality sessions. I certainly haven't lost the fitness, and I think the training block that I did to try and get me to sub 72 is going to be massively valuable going forward. The fact that I didn't quite get 72, I don't think is a problem. The idea was to get the fitness to see if I could get there, and that would give me the confidence to go for sub 230. I definitely think I had the fitness to go sub 72, and so now let's see if we can go sub 230. Come along for the ride, I'm excited.